Hey y'all, my name is Emma, and today we're going through my 2025 TV. Today we're going through my 2025 TBR. If you don't know what a TBR is, it stands for to be read. This list can also be considered a want to read list. Ideally, I would like to read all of these books, but I know the likelihood of making it through all of these books, plus a ton of other books that are coming out, is very unlikely. I'm pointing to books that I have physical copies of. Something that I really want to do this year is get through my physical TBR. As you can see, I own a lot of books. Probably now around 350. Anyways, today we're going to be going through my physical TBR that I have with me, and then a couple of new releases that I want to read this year. So up first, I have already read so far this year, it is the book Wicked. I have wanted to read this book for so long. I've had it since 2014 when I saw it on Broadway, and I read it, and y'all will get in my next video a review of this book. But basically, I did not love it. I was very underwhelmed and not at all like the musical, which I was told and I'm aware, but it just still was underwhelming even though I downplayed it. This has been on my TBR for a while, and I finally got to read it, but I'm still sharing it in this video because this was my 2025 TBR. The next book I'm currently reading, and I left it downstairs, so I don't feel like going downstairs and getting it, but it is Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow. Basically about these two people that grew up childhood friends and are now making video games together. The process of coding and creation and programming is one of the coolest things to me, so getting to read a book that's about that is super cool. Plus I've heard great things. I'm almost done with it, and again, review is coming, but that was in my 2025 TBR. The rest of these are not in order of how I want to read them or even if I will read them, but I do just want to talk about all of these books. So first up on physical TBR, also maybe not physical TBR, I guess, Stephen King. I want to read anything by him. I read, I think, 3 of his books last year, and I fell in love. I have a little shelf right here dedicated to some of his books, but I only own 4 of his books. I don't necessarily know if I want to read the books that I physically have by him yet, but I know I want to read more Stephen King. So if you have recommendations by him, would love to hear it. Next up is Ninth House and Hellbent. I have had this book for a long time, and as you can see, the spine is broken. This was before I knew how to properly fold open a book without breaking the spine, so it is a little old, but I have read the first book, Ninth House, about 4 years ago, and I remember loving it, but I don't remember much about it. But I finally got a copy of Hellbent this year. I absolutely adored the first book. I don't remember much about it, so I want to reread that and then finally read the sequel that I have been waiting to read for several years. So next up is the Natural series. I got the box set. I absolutely love Jennifer Lynn Barnes. I loved her books, The Inheritance Games. Her writing was really easy for me, and I flew through that series. I've only heard good things about this series, so I'm very excited to get to tear into it. But look how gorgeous. Next up, if you watch my 2024 Wrapped in books, you will see that I have been reading through the Harry Potter series. I read the first book 2 years ago. I've read it a ton of times, but when I started the order of reading them, I read the first book 2 years ago, and then I read 2 through 5 this past year. But obviously, Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, which is number 6, and Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, which is number 7. These are 100% on my TBR for this year. I want to finish the series this year. For the first time ever, I have never read these books, so I'm very excited to get through them. Next up on my physical TBR is the book Babel by R.F. Kuang. This book, I have only heard good things. It's basically about this world that is built off of language, and oh, I did not realize this author, that she wrote The Poppy War too. The Poppy War is on my TBR. I want to make a video of books that make me cry at some point, which leads me to my next book on the TBR is A Little Life. Whenever I make that video, hopefully it'll be this year. Obviously, if you look at the cover, I'm going to be crying after reading this one. So this is on the TBR, hopefully this year, in order for me to make a video with it, along with The Poppy War. I don't think Babel's supposed to make me cry, but this is also on the TBR. Next up is the Lightlark series. I've had this book since not this past Christmas, but the one before, and I have yet to read it because I don't like reading books of a series when they're still developing the series because of what happened with Ninth House, where I push off reading until it comes out and then I forget everything and have to reread books. I want to read Lightlark because I think we're getting almost to the end of the series. I think she said another book's coming out though, and I may have to push this even further, but I don't know. I'm ready to crack this one open and see if I'm even gonna like the series before procrastinating the entire thing. So this one is definitely on the TBR, probably. Next, I want to read more Kristen Hanna books. Her book, The Women, was one of the most popular books, so that one is on the TBR. But I got The Four Winds by Kristen Hanna. I do want to read this book along with The Women, along with literally any of her other books. I'm obsessed with her writing. It is so descriptive and beautiful, and I want to read as many Kristen Hanna books as I possibly can. So this is on the TBR. Next up, I got this book. It's super short, so this will definitely be one of my palette cleansers. This is 7 Year Slip by Ashley Poston. I don't know too much about this, but I know it's something like they time travel or love across 7 years, or they slip back 7 years in the past, something like that. I think it's a romance. I'm almost certain it's a romance. I try not to learn a lot about the books before I read them so I can be surprised. So I don't know too much about this, but I've heard amazing things. This will be a nice palette cleanser. Next on my TBR, or want to read this year, I definitely will be reading this. I got this last year in the fall, and I just kind of got into a short slump when the fall hit and ended up reading a few different books and not this one. So I'm saving this for fall time because you cannot read this book when it is not the fall. I don't own copies of, but I want the Cinnabon bookstore and her new one that's coming out, I think it's like the Strawberry Pancake House, I want to say, but these by Laurie Gilmore are just such little biteable books. I'm so obsessed with them. They're so cute and so fun, and they're like Hallmark movies in a book, or at least the Christmas one was, so I definitely want to read more. Next, this brings me to the new releases of the year that I want to read. There's not a whole lot that I'm like itching to read. I know there's a ton of new books, so I'm sure I will pick up several of them that are not in this list, but the few that are, I will definitely be picking up and probably purchasing a copy. So first up is Enchantra. It is by Kaylee Smith, wrote Phantasma. She's coming out with her next book in the Wicked Games world called Enchantra. I am so excited. I loved this book. I loved the writing in this book. I think it's going to be super fun, and I cannot wait to get my hands on that book. The next one is Say You'll Remember Me. It's a new release by Abby Jimenez, and I also want to read Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez. I rated her book just for the summer 6 stars, and it is my favorite romance of all time. So I definitely want to get more of her books, especially this new release. These next couple books are not new releases, but they are ones that have been on my TBR for a hot minute, so hopefully I will get to them this year. Obviously, I have a lot of books to get to, so I may not, but these are on the wish list at some point to read in my life. First up is the Magnolia Park series. I have been eyeing this one for a hot minute, and I'm feeling like it's starting to get close to the time that I'm going to pick up this series. The next one is Everything I Know About Love. I forgot who this one's by, but here's the picture of it. This book is waiting for me on Libby currently, so right after I finish this book, I'm going to be picking up this one. Next one, I might read A Court of Thorns and Roses this year. Maybe. I don't know. That's a series that is so hyped on TikTok, and I fear that it's overhyped, and I'm scared to dive into it because once I dive into the world of Sarah J. Maas, I feel like I have just opened a can of worms, and I have way too many books to read to open that can of worms, but I'm curious. I definitely want to read theme books, so I want to read books that are summer-ish in the summer. I want to read fall books in the fall. I want to read a couple more Christmas books when it gets that time. Winter books right now. I have Life of Pi and Parable of the Sower that I want to read. Both I've heard are amazing classic books that are just beautiful. I have a ton of stuff that I've gotten recently, like The Dutch House by Ann Patchett, The Night Circus. I got Better Than the Movies by Lynn Painter, Everyone on This Train is a Suspect by Benjamin Stevenson, The Impossible Life by Matt Haig. I have a ton of books that I have not read and that I really want to read. So hopefully this year I will read a lot of books. I need to get through this physical TBR. If you made it this far though, follow me on Goodreads. We can talk books. I'm curious, what is your book goal this year? My goal this year I have set to 50. Last year I set mine to 24 and read 60 books. So I want to give myself a reasonable goal that I can reach and feel accomplished, but also feel a little challenged to work toward because 50 feels like a lot. But hopefully I will read a lot more than that. That is the goal. And I probably named about 50 books in this video, so got a lot of reading to do. It is meant to be fun. For me, this is one of my favorite hobbies of all time. I get to explore a bunch of worlds. I get to talk about them with other people who have read them, which is why I'm sharing all of this on YouTube now. So it's never about a goal for me. It's just about accomplishing something. As you can tell, I have a lot of books on the TBR. Let me know if you've read any of these books. And I'm so excited to start reading. I already read 2 books, and tonight I plan to finish my 3rd and start my 4th of the year. So we're already trucking along. If you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up and subscribe down below. And let me know what you want to see next time. Bye!